And Tony then went solo. I'm going to go to 2 hours and 9 minutes in after the pay-per-view event. This is what the promoter's doing for 2 hours after the pay-per-view event. Let's go to this about Jade Cargill.
Hi, Tony, TK from Women's Wrestling Talk. So I spoke to you in Chicago and asked you about Jade, and you're like, whenever she's ready, she can come back. And she came back, and she's gone. Now, my question, just, being nosy, did you already know that, this was the game plan?
No. I knew Jade's contract had been ticking down, and we were talking about a new contract, and I was very interested in Jade coming back, and we were having a negotiation, and I think it was I made a very big offer, and I thought it was a very fair offer, and I think she was considering it, and then she asked for a bigger offer, and then I went up again, and I kind of thought that was going to do it, and then it didn't, which I was surprised because, to be honest, I came up to a number that was higher than her original ask. So I don't know what I would have had to do at that point. So I was a little surprised, but I was.
Let's stop it there for a second, because that is interesting. So they're in the midst of renegotiations, or not negotiations on a new contract.
Yeah.
And he gave her a figure. He thought it was fair. She declined it, asked for more. He gave her more, and that wasn't enough. I guess the question people are going to wonder is how, not even when did she have her heart set on WWE, but when did she start talking to WWE?
Well, the thing is, sometimes you'll ask for something and you'll think they'll never do this, and that's your out because you don't want to do it to begin with. So you ask for something you think they ain't going to give you. Heyman did that with Impact, with that celebrated time where they heard that he was talking to Dixie.
Oh, TNA. It was still TNA then.
Well, at TNA. And he knew that he himself, he couldn't save the whole company because he wouldn't be in Dixie's position. And so he said, I want a piece of ownership of the company, knowing that was the one thing that she or her parents wouldn't allow her to give or whatever, so he could walk away as the babyface. Well, they didn't give me what I asked for. Well, and maybe this backfired on Jade, because if he kept going up in money and kept going to where it was more than she had asked for to begin with, I think in between what she asked for and that, either she found out there was a WWE opening or an open to talk to him, or she was just asking for more than she thought he would go for if he was sane and rational, so that she could, well, okay, it didn't work, and go where she was going to go anyway. But what was he going to get out of this giant offer, whatever that giant offer was? The way he used her, yes, he made her a star. She was undefeated. She beat everybody. She lost 2 matches out of 73 she's had in her entire career, or whatever it is. And she'd done everything. He didn't get a pay-per-view match that was a big draw. He didn't get a house show match. I don't think she did house shows, did she? Even when they did them. He got a few ratings quarter hours. And what the fuck? It was meaningless. She knew that she was never going to be a bigger star or be trained properly or go into movies, major motion pictures and sitcoms, unless she went to the WWE. And since she had already been in that developmental program or been looked at by the developmental program and they didn't take her, it was Tony being kind enough to give her hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to learn to wrestle and putting her over on his television weekly, constantly, and giving her all the interviews to talk about nothing besides say the word shit to Tony Schiavone, to just make her a star so the WWE would want her. And now they're going to fucking bypass developmental and put her on the main television. Even though she still needs training, which she will get in that environment. But it's like he allowed himself to lay down and let people wipe his feet or wipe their feet on him because he had this great idea to make this lovely young lady an undefeated superstar before she'd ever had a fucking match.
Well, let's go back to Tony talking about Jade Cargill and the negotiations.
When I did, when I answered your question, really hope Jade would be back. I think I tried to handle it when we were down to the nitty gritty and we were in the final couple weeks and we still hadn't agreed to something. Then it was at the point where I said, okay, well, if you aren't going to stay, I want to give you the best possible exit. And I have only good things to say about Jade. I really enjoyed working with her. She was a great part of AEW. She's always welcome here. I tried to give her the best possible send-off I could. The classiest send-off I've ever seen in wrestling was, at the time, I thought it wasn't the kind of send-off I really saw, and I was 10 years old, and I could tell it was different, was when Ric Flair left the WWF. And he did a match with Mr. Perfect, who was a natural person for him to wrestle, and that was it. And then he was gone. They didn't do anything to embarrass him or mess him up, and they let him leave, and he was still Ric Flair. He wrestled the match against the person he should have wrestled, finished up, and left with, not only, to say the least, not only with his dignity, but in probably a better position than he came in. And
let me stop it there. That's a weird match to cite as the classiest send-off. Nothing against it, but if you remember, I think it was the third Monday Night Raw, or it was around that period of time.
Yeah.
Ric Flair was in WWF. They were going to move him down the card. He had a deal where he can get out of his deal if they did. Vince said, okay. So, out of nowhere, his feud with Mr. Perfect, it was, I challenge you to a loser leaves WWF match. And then that match happened the next week. And then Flair was gone. Again, nothing against that, but it's not really a classy send-off, is it?
But no, but also it was just doing normal course of business. But with Tony, there's no comparison between Jade Cargill and Ric Flair. And not in terms of the person, although there's no similarities there, or the talent level, there's no similarities there, but the way they were being used and how they had been used and what was going on. Oh, my God.
Well, let's go back
If they'd have had a loser leave AEW match with Cargill versus X, Y, or Z, it wouldn't have been that memorable because she'd only been there fucking a couple of years doing squash matches. She wasn't the greatest wrestler in the history of the fucking game.
Hey, he definitely took care of her on the way out. You're going to lose and it'll be on Rampage.
Yeah.
No one's going to see it. Yeah, I mean, seriously, that is a way of taking care of her. You could have put it on Dynamite.
And he should have, to get something out of his investment.
Let's go back to Tony.
And that's what I tried to do. I wanted to give her the best possible send-off. I think the natural thing was there was no rematch ever against Chris Statlander. So I had her do a run-in and lay out Statlander, knowing that it was going to set up the match where she would likely finish up unless we came to an agreement at the last minute, which I was really still hoping would happen down to the last minute, to be honest with you. And I don't think I'm talking out of school. I have only positive things to say, but that's where it was at. So I thought I had a pretty good plan at that point that, if this is it, that's where we'll finish up. When she did the segment where she returned on Collision to set up her final match the following week on Rampage against Chris Statlander in the main event, and she did the run-in, and Tony Schiavone came up to the desk, tapped on my monitor, and said, "You're a classy guy, boss." And I think he meant it. That was a classy way to send her off. And, I try to make this a great home for wrestlers, and I want people to see whether you're coming in or coming out. We're going to treat you well.
Hey, wait a minute. It's not a home for wrestlers. It's just a boarding house for wayward wrestlers in transition. They're going to come and they're going to go. They're not going to buy retirement property, Tony. They're going to relocate there while their job it necessitates it. And then they're going to move on to greener pastures. Just get that in your head right now.
Boy, Schiavone really figured out how to get in good with Tony Khan a couple of years ago, didn't he?
Boy, howdy did he. Maybe Tony's supplying him with all that hair dye. I love you, Tony, but you're older than me.
I can value Jade, so I wanted to give her a good send-off. And like I said, I wish her the best, and she'd always be welcome back if she wanted to come back. Thanks.
I mean, you could argue about various things here. Of course, negotiating till the last minute is never a good idea. and it seems to happen a few times with AEW, but anything wrong with what Tony's saying here?
Yes. Yes. Because here's the thing. If she had said, okay, you know what, boss? I'm coming back here. I'll take the deal. Now he's booked her against Statlander. Was he going to change the finish? Or was she going to still do the job? And what's happened with Statlander if she gets beat? Because Jane decided to re-sign. No, you don't do this, and you don't cater to these people to that extent, especially when they mean nothing in terms of changing the bottom line of your business or your overall ratings or your pay-per-view buys or whatever. It just shows that Tony can be had. And that's the reason why you're starting to hear that a lot of people are looking at AEW like a way station. Like, well, they won't give me 6 or 7 figures in the WWF right now, but they sure will in AEW, and then sooner or later I'll end up there anyway. If I can just get on TV and prove to them that I'm good, then the WWF will sign me eventually. That's what they're starting to do now, because the gap is widening.
Well, we will certainly see what happens with this gap in the weeks ahead. We're going to stop it here, Jim. This is 2 hours.
And I'll just say one more thing. I wasn't involved in the discussions, obviously, but when she did the original job, who'd she put over? The first
Statlander.
one?
It was Statlander both times.
Statlander. Okay, when she did the original job and it was on Dynamite, then fine.
No, it was on a pay-per-view. I think it was on a pay-per-view.
It was on the pay-per-view. But they can play it on Dynamite anytime they want because it's their fucking programming. Point is, Statlander beats the undefeated superstar, Jade Cargill, and now Statlander is the champion, and we're going to play that on all the televisions because that gets Statlander over. We get some return on having 72 people or whatever put Cargill over. And now we'll talk about the new contract, and we'd love to have you back. And if you sign a new contract, we'll bring you back and put you on television, start putting you over again. But if you don't, you're already done. And the last time they saw you was getting beat by Chris Statlander, which helps my business. Not, oh golly, after 2 months, she's taking a break. She still won't sign. I'm going to bring her back and let her beat Statlander up. And then I'm going to have her put Statlander over again on a show that nobody watches. And then she'll be straight into the WWF next week. That didn't make any fucking sense.
Do you think, from what you know and from what you hear in situations like this, that Tony is overly concerned with people? He doesn't want to make anyone unhappy with him.
He doesn't want anybody to think, well, he screwed me around or he treated me bad, even when he's not. As long as they think that, he takes it seriously. So, no, he wants friends. Poor Richie Rich wants friends. And that's been the problem since day one and will continue to be. And I don't know how many times we got to say it, but it's obvious and everybody's talking about it. He wants friends. He doesn't want employees. He wants to have fun doing the thing he's always wanted to do. He's not running a business. And when you get $100 million to do whatever the fuck you want to do with, you can do a lot of shit for a while. But sooner or later, there comes a time at some point you have to start being good at it. I believe we're coming to the point. Maybe we've already got there, and we're starting to see what happens.
Well, Jim, this media scrum went 2 hours and 20 minutes after the pay-per-view, which went hours and hours and hours. And Tony's still wide awake. He's drinking water, it appears. But maybe after an event like this, he's so wired, he's so awake, full of energy still, that he would go back to his hotel. And because he's in a strange land and a strange place, being, Seattle, he doesn't have access to all the shows he usually watches over in England when he's with his football team, football club, I guess. Maybe he needs ExpressVPN.
I was wondering if you were ever going to get down that road. Well, I'll tell you what he does need. Besides the fact that he needs someone to watch over him and make sure he doesn't act awkward in public, he also needs a subscription to ExpressVPN for exactly the reason you mentioned, because The Office is on UK Netflix, right? Not our Office, but their Office.
The original.
They had an office before we had an office.
It's the original one. The one in America is based on that one.
Yeah, but you can't see the real deal. All you can see is the ripoff over here. But if you get ExpressVPN and change your location, relocate where you are set at in the world, then you can watch The Office on UK Netflix, and nobody will be any the wiser, because you can use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries, not just Netflix. It works with Hulu, with the BBC iPlayer, with YouTube. Wait a minute. People aren't going to be able to zoom us out of money on our YouTube channel with this, are they?
No, we should be okay.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to continue to plug it. Because you can watch anything with ExpressVPN. Say you love Korean dramas, and who doesn't love a good Korean drama? You can use ExpressVPN to watch Parasite off the South Korea Netflix. But now, wait a minute. I think I've discovered an issue with that. If it's Korean dramas and it's South Korean Netflix, and they think you're located in South Korea, ain't they going to be speaking South Korean?
Well, you always have the options for closed captioning or maybe subtitles.
Won't that be in South Korean too?
It doesn't have to be. Maybe, I mean, here in America.
Can you change that shit?
Well, we could change it from English to Spanish to French to German to all sorts of different things on our TVs.
Well, I didn't know that. Well, ExpressVPN is even greater than I thought.
Well, no, it's not ExpressVPN.
It'll let you understand any language spoken on Earth.
No, that's not what they will do.
You'll be able to speak Swahili. You'll be able to speak to the fucking people on Easter Island. You'll be able to speak that language that they speak down at the South Pole. All due to ExpressVPN. It's better than the babble. It's better than all these language learning things, because you just punch a button and automatically you're speaking and understanding South Korean.
No, you will not understand anything language-wise that you don't currently understand, but you can access their shows.
Well, what good would that
if they're
do
on
then?
The internet?
If you don't understand what they're saying, because I'm telling you, you got to get the ExpressVPN so that you'll understand all these people talking to you.
No, ExpressVPN will supply the facilitation so that you can access the various websites or various things from South Korea. However, those sites themselves would have the closed captioning or the English translation or whatever it may be.
Well, never mind. But nevertheless, ExpressVPN is ridiculously fast. It's positively obscenely fast. There's never any buffering or lag. You can stream in HD. No problem whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it's so blazingly fast, when you press that button, you got to turn a garden hose on your computer, because it's going to just blaze in and set the whole house on fire. And it works on all your devices, phones, media consoles, smart TVs, and so much more. You can watch what you want to watch on your Dick Tracy TV wristwatch or on your big screen. And right now, if you want to get access to hundreds of new shows as well as thousands of new languages, use my link right now, expressvpn.com/JCE. You're going to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. expressvpn.com/JCE. You can learn more and you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Now, how many TV shows can you watch in 3 months if you don't go to bed, like Tony?
You don't go to bed. Well, Tony has work to do, though, so he can't just sit around and watch TV. He's not staying awake and watching TV.
He's got the TV on in the background while he's writing all this stuff. It's obvious something is distracting him. So in 3 months, you can watch a lot of TV shows and you can learn dozens of new languages. So right now, folks, once again, hundreds of shows, thousands of languages, 3 months for free, all these time periods and categories. How can you turn this down? expressvpn.com/JCE. Do you speak French, Brian? Voulez-vous français?
I do not speak French, no.
What about German? Achtung, baby.
Now, fuck the Germans.
Well, what did the Germans ever do to you?
I'm Jewish.
I guess that's something.
ExpressVPN.
.com.
Promo code.
JC.
There we go.
There we go. It's not a promo code, it's a slash.
It's a slash.